Hi, I'm joined by Ralph Rio from ARC Advisory Group. Thank you so much for joining us today, Ralph.
Oh, you're quite welcome. Thank you, Mary.
Let's just start with a few questions. If you could tell us what the top issues you're finding with enterprise asset management clients are.
Well, we've done extensive research among users through surveys and stuff like that. And sometimes we forget what their primary metrics are. Number one, pinned to the top, is uptime of equipment. Is it available for production? Number two, has moved up recently, is controlling the cost of the maintenance operations, whether it be labor and materials. Number three is the asset longevity. How long does the asset last before it has to be replaced? And number four is safety. There are other factors that come along, but we need to focus on the primary ones and think about the effect that has on maintenance systems and maintenance management.
Right.
How do they achieve those particular objectives? And if you try to use manual systems, I mean, today you have maintenance departments, a variety of skills, tens of thousands of parts and MRO materials. How do you, and maybe hundreds and hundreds of assets, how do you know what's the most important thing to work on right now?
Exactly.
Well, you need a modern EAM system to have the information necessary so you know what to work on, what's most important, what materials are available to make sure the materials, so when you send somebody to fix a piece of equipment, you can actually give them the spare parts they need.
Right.
That you send the right type of person. So you want an electrician to go to an electrical job. You don't want to accidentally call a plumber up.
Right,
that would be a bad thing. And you need to deal with mobility because these people are all mobile, they're moving around a lot. How do they have the information they need while they're at the job and then report back that it's done? Doing all that absolutely requires a modern EAM system.
Yep, sounds right. Okay, so how about discussing some of the conclusions from your users' practices and future plans for an EAM systems report?
Now, when you get involved in maintenance management systems, how do you assess that information? How do you determine what's most important? Well, there are a couple of things that occurred out of it that were pretty interesting. One has to do with condition monitoring. So you gradually want to move from, certainly you want to move from run to failure.
Right.
Where, you're a pure react node and move more into preventative maintenance. Well, how do you know when to maintain things? That some of it can be done based on time periods, but it's better off if you could do it based on actual usage, or even better, what's the condition of it? Is it going over temperature a little bit too often, or is the motor drawing too much amperage? Maybe you need to pay attention for that reason. It's a conditioning monitoring area that is much more prevalent than I originally thought. And the reason for that is, I originally thought of condition monitoring as a separate system.
Okay.
And typically it's vibration sensors attached to a separate system, but the data can come from many other resources, like the historian. People are pulling information out of the historian to bring it into a rules-based condition monitoring to tell them when to go generate a work order. Also out of the control systems, whether it be PLC-based or DCS-based. So it's actually more often, which is the surprise, that information is pulled out of the historian or the control system rather than a separate condition monitoring system.
Okay.
And when you think about it, it probably makes sense because the historian and the control system already exists.
Right.
You don't have to justify a whole nother system to do condition monitoring. So
got the facts right there.
You already got it there, you just got to pull the data out. So that as a result, it's much easier to implement that stuff, less costly to implement it, and it occurs more often naturally.
Yeah. Better ROI. Okay, so what about mitigating business risks?
Well, business risk has a tendency to take us in two directions. Well, one direction obviously is if there is machine failure, there is a risk to being able to meet your production schedules. There's an impact on the P&L statement, meaning if you can't make product, sales goes down, and That's usually a problem.
Bad thing.
Also, particularly in the continuous process industries, not only do you lose labor, because there are people who are around the equipment can't work, can't be direct labor, but the other part of it is the in-process materials usually have a problem. You have to clean it out, and a lot of the materials get scrapped. So there's implications not only in terms of labor, but also materials. Impact on the P&L statement. And also, if you look at the balance sheet, when you start thinking about the inventory management issues, duplicate part numbers, having too much inventory, having it in the wrong places, there's a lot of optimization opportunities. Even obsolete part numbers. When you do an upgrade and take some equipment out, the parts associated to that equipment, the spare parts, should immediately be resold on eBay or maybe sold back to the vendor so you can record. Because if you wait a couple of 3 years before you realize that it's
down.
Yeah, right. So there's an impact on the P&L statement I talked about. There's impact on the balance sheet. If you can do inventory optimization and reduce the inventory level, you add the cash. Those kinds of things have a direct effect on the metrics of the C-suite, the CEO, president, etc. Because those guys, quite frankly, are all measured by Wall Street through the P&L statement and the balance sheet. And it's obvious, but if you can make the C-suite look successful, it's really a good career move.
Yes, exactly. Okay, all right, and then after attending the sessions here, what role do you see asset management playing in the Smarter Planet?
Well, in the Smarter Planet, you need visibility, you need control of your business processes, business process automation. So one of the things that I learned was this idea of taking the condition monitoring equipment, the DCS system, control system, or in the facilities, your HVAC system, when things aren't going well, having a business process automation that takes that and generates a work order semi-automatically. You don't want it obviously automatically generate. You want to go through a planner, but you can have an alarm come out of those control systems, go to the planner, and that alarm can be in the form of an alarm or an email or some kind of alert, and with that information they can then generate a work order. So that business process automation gets you away from the run to failure, bad, ugly, past simple preventative maintenance to a much more automated business process and a higher performance level.
More intelligent, smarter.
Right.
And is there anything else that you wanted to share with us about Pulse?
Well, this is Las Vegas. The Pulse is being held in Las Vegas. And this is amazing. It's a first for Las Vegas for probably decades. When I got here, that evening, it actually snowed in Las Vegas. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning, snowed for an hour. It was on all the news. And of course, it was melted by the time the morning came along. But I was absolutely quite amazed that it snowed in Las Vegas.
There it is. What a season. Well, thank you very much, Ralph. And I look forward to talking more with you. I'm Maximo Mary. Follow me on Twitter.